Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Benjamin Chong Alfares with the top reports. Coming up, tourism continues slow recuperation in Israel, and Vietnam's rice boom may come at a large cost. First, the headlines. UN Chief Ban Ki-moon said international donors pledged $3.8 billion to tackle the humanitarian crisis in Syria. The third International Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Syria included 78 states, 40 international organizations, and more than 100 NGOs. The United States promised $507 million, Kuwait $500 million, the United Arab Emirates $100 million, and Saudi Arabia $60 million. The United Nations had appealed for $8.4 billion for Syria, but like last year, got less than half of the amount pursued.
You have so many burning fires in Africa and Israel. It's very difficult to mobilize such humanitarian assistance. We have 50 million refugees at this time. 4 million are from Syria. Altogether, more than 16 million Syrian people are in need of this humanitarian assistance.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel said 300 million euros of aid money promised earlier to Ukraine was earmarked for specific investment targets. The bulk of 500 million euros previously guaranteed is reserved for investment in modernizing Ukraine's infrastructure, economy, and health system. Merkel also pledged the support of all German ministries to help make Ukraine economically successful and transparent. Reforms involving Ukraine's fight against corruption and improving tax transparency would create conditions for more international investment, Merkel said.
Germany has pledged 500 million euros. That is known. 300 of the 500 million euros will be used specifically for the modernization of Ukrainian infrastructure, the Ukrainian economy, and the health system. And we signed today a bilateral declaration in the German Economy Ministry.
McDonald's plans to raise wages by more than 10% for workers at U.S. restaurants it operates. The increase does not apply to employees of franchisees, which operate nearly 90% of the 14,350 U.S. McDonald's stores. McDonald's announcement did not satisfy its strongest critics, who say it is nothing near a living wage, just smoke and mirrors. Fast Food Forward, a union-backed group, plans more nationwide protests demanding a $15 hourly minimum and the right to form a union. But a Congressional Budget Office report last year found that raising the federal minimum wage to $10.10 an hour would eliminate about 500,000 jobs nationwide, even as it increased pay for 16.5 million workers. JPMorgan Chase is on track to pay homeowners billions in consumer relief as part of a settlement over bad securities sold before the crisis. America's largest bank is required to provide consumers $4 billion by 2017, of which $2.2 billion through Chase, JPMorgan's brand for consumer loans. Consumer relief comes in the form of mortgage forgiveness, refinancing, and disaster area lending. Chase must also pay $9 billion of penalties and fines in cash, totaling a $13 billion settlement reached in November 2013. Israel's tourism sector continues to bleed since last summer's barrage of rockets from Gaza kept Western tourists away. But Russian travelers, the second biggest source of tourists to Israel, have also stayed home following the 50% drop in the ruble. Here's more from Shelby Weiner.
The holiday season of Passover and Easter is a peak time for tourism in Israel. Typically, many Israelis use the holiday to travel while countless visitors fly into the Holy Land to celebrate the religious holidays. Ben Gurion National Airport expects in March and April almost 2.5 million people to be traveling in and out of the country, a 5% increase from the previous season. Though the tourism industry is not finding the increase to be from the incoming internationals.
My expertise is outgoing tourism, but my colleagues who handle incoming tourists say it is lower this year. Less people are coming from the United States and Europe. Most tourists are coming from France.
The hotel and tourism industry felt the impacts of last summer's war, and one hotel chain thinks that may still be a reason for the lower occupancy of their hotels over the holiday.
Unfortunately, it's a continuing situation that started after the war in July. Tourism to Israel is still a bit slow, though at the last 3 months we see really a recovery in the demand, in the number of tourists arriving to our hotels.
The hotel group is expecting 80% occupancy in Tel Aviv and only 65% in Jerusalem, which they say is slightly lower than last year. However, they remain optimistic because many Israelis will be traveling this time of year.
We feel that during the holiday itself, there will be a small pickup by holiday makers, which are mainly Israelis traveling within Israel, who will bring up the occupancy a little bit higher.
Israelis also have big travel plans for leaving the country this holiday. According to information from the airport, many people will be traveling to Turkey, Europe, and the U.S. Meanwhile, Israel's tourism industry hopes the domestic situation will continue to improve into the summer.
The Jewish holiday of Passover in Israel is generally accompanied by a lot of commotion in the retail sector, including unbridled competition and massive advertising campaigns. This year's festival, which starts on Friday night, has been marked by prudence, both among retailers and customers. Yuna Leibson, the head of the economic desk at Israel's Army Radio, joins us to explain what's happening in the Israeli market as we prepare to leave Egypt. Ms. Leibson.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for being here. So why is there less money spent both by retailers and it seems by customers? Why is this Passover different from any other Passover?
So first thing that we see is that 2014, people just bought less everywhere. We saw that from retailers that told us, and we saw the numbers, people just buy less. Some say it's because consumers become smarter, they don't buy everything that is offered, and some say because we do see the weakness in the Israeli market. I mean, we see the growth, but it's not as high as it used to be. Another thing that we see right now is also that in Passover, which is on Friday, it's a little bit, people buy less than in usual Passover because you celebrate it over the weekend when you used to have a regular dinner anyway. So people buy less. They don't need 4 different dinners that they used to have the holidays.
For clarification purposes, I mean, essentially they would have a Shabbat dinner, say, and they would have a Pesach dinner. Now they only have one dinner. It's combined. So that's one of the reasons. But isn't it also so, I mean, you have this whole social justice movement behind the fact that people aren't making enough money really to get by. Is that also playing a part in this?
So if you would ask the retailers, they would say they do. I mean, you also see the different sales. There are also less sales. We saw big sales a couple of last years. We saw Rami Levi's that's selling, chicken for 1 shekel. We don't see that this year because people saying everything is slower, the economy is slower. The unique thing also in Israel that you do see in Passover is the different vouchers that people get from their workplaces.
Right.
So even if there's
a bonus, so to speak.
Exactly. So even if there's not sales, people use that and they buy it, and usually they can use it also on sales. Another thing is this year Passover, we just saw the sales, especially in the industry of fashion, just ended the big sales about a month and a half ago. So this year we see everything is a little bit slower. Also today, when everybody is at the last minute shopping, you do see the prices are going up a little bit, even less than they were at the last couple of days. And if you go to the supermarket in Israel, you will see a very unique thing.
I was just going to say, supermarkets in Israel at Passover time are very different, certainly from people coming from outside who are not used to this Passover holiday. Explain.
Yeah, so you see the chametz, the things that Jewish people can't eat over
Anything
Passover.
That's leavened, so to speak, leavened bread.
Exactly,
and
and everything is just covered with white or black sheets, plastic sheets covered entire rows because they can't sell it. It's illegal to sell it. If someone wants to eat unkosher food, he can get it, but at the big retailers, at the big supermarkets, you won't see it on the shelves.
Which technically cuts down on the products that they sell. I mean, would that cut down also on their revenue?
So first of all, there's a sort of unique products for Passover. So is a little bit of more sales on that side, you know, more things that they sell that are kosher. And after Passover, you see that when they take everything out and everybody has to put back all the things in the closets, you know, all the wheat and everything. So people come back to the stores and buy even more.
Well, Una Leibson, thank you very much for joining us from Israel Army Radio.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. As Vietnam aims to become the world's leading rice exporter, farmers in the fertile Mekong Delta boost production at all costs. And the costs are high, both for the environment as well as for the market itself.
For the rice farmers of the Mekong Delta, the working day begins at dawn. In the drive to produce ever more food, it's a case of long, hot days in the paddy fields all year long. Nguyen Hien Tien is one of millions who grow the crop in the region, which is known as Vietnam's Rice Bowl.
When I was a child, we grew one crop of rice per year. Now it's 3. It's a lot of work.
Rice is Vietnam's key staple, and the country is also the world's #2 exporter of the crop. Amid lingering memories of earlier famines and food shortages, official government policy is to ensure food security in all circumstances. As a result, rice yields have nearly quadrupled since the 1970s. But now some producers, such as this mill, which sells higher quality rice in smaller quantities, are calling for a new approach.
We encourage farmers not to plant so many crops, but instead just to concentrate on 2 main crops, to ensure the quality of the soil is not degraded and the environment not polluted. The production efficiency with 2 crops is more sustainable than with 3, leading to a higher price. Too much production brings down the price of rice.
High volume production needs more water, fertilizer and pesticides, and altogether it's taking its toll on the Mekong's ecosystem. Vietnam's Rice Institute is also trying to come up with ways to cope with increasingly unpredictable weather.
In the context of current climate change, there may be an effect on rice cultivation of farmers here. We are studying varieties that can resist the fierceness of the environment, like drought, flood and salination, so that we can combine these characteristics to resist those changes.
But coming up with a new ultra-resilient strain of rice could take more than a decade. Until then, Vietnam's farmers and its leaders will have to hope that the country's rice bowl remains full.
And now for a look at some offbeat items in Media Watch with Ayman Zigzag. Ayman.
Hi, Binyamin.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
We've just finished April Fools.
Right.
I understand there's more about April Fools, right?
Well, the joke is still ongoing for some people. This happens every year. There are several products that are released by companies or so-called products. There's adverts for them online, and people buy into this, that this is a real product, and start spreading the word. And what this does is a lot of good PR for the companies. The first one I want to tell you about is the selfie shoe. Now, you know what a selfie is, obviously.
Selfie shoe, yeah.
Yes, so Mizmoos, which is a graphic design place, yes, you can see it's extremely hilarious.
Yeah.
This comes from a graphic design office in New York City, a very small but classy graphic design office, and they came up with this product whereby you place your smartphone in your shoe and use your toe to take a picture of yourself by raising your leg up.
And you have to learn to dance the can-can first, right?
No, I'm sure that's in the instructions, but their idea for selling this product is that you finally have your hands free and you can use both hands to hug the person next to you or make a funny gesture or whatever it is. But you have to raise your leg as high as you can in order to take the photo. and it can be put on both shoes. So it's a smart selfie shoe.
Both shoes.
Both shoes. So if you're a lefty, you would.
I see. Right.
You
Not,
can use
not
both.
at the same time.
Exactly. No, that would be extremely challenging. I think that would be quite a movie.
Okay. What else do we have on there?
The second thing we have is that, well, we all know Coca-Cola. I personally am a fan of the drink. They released a product that's called the Sip Size Coca-Cola.
Sip size.
It comes in a little ketchup-sized little tin basket, and it's just supposed to serve you enough for one sip. And that's, of course, another April Fool's joke. Really, yes, people started spreading it around. Of course, what this does is great PR for small companies. Coca-Cola doesn't need the PR, but Ms. Moose certainly benefited from it.
Okay, well, Ivan Sixak, thanks for giving Coca-Cola more PR. All right, well, that concludes your Economy Magazine, your daily source for economic and financial reports at I24 News. Thanks for joining us. I'm Benjamin Chong Faris, and I'll be here again next week.